Alright, welcome everybody to the first project on Project Zenki here. A few days ago, driving to work, I actually lost all the coolant out of the engine radiator. The radiator upper mount hose here actually broke from the radiator itself. I've got it secured enough to drive it in the driveway, but it lost all the coolant and overheated the engine. So I'm going to replace the radiator today and double check everything else. So in order to do that, I'll have to take the intake off, take all the connections off all the way through, and then take off the two top brackets, pull the radiator out. And I do have an ISIS brand radiator plus cooling fans from Enjuku Racing I'm going to be putting back in, so let's go. Okay, the first job we're doing now is replacing the radiator. So as you can see, I've already taken the battery cable off the negative, and now across the top I have taken off all of the mounts here and across the other side. Those are just a 10mm nut, and they'll come off. And of course you need to take off the one that held the original air intake. Now I've disconnected the radiator hoses, and you can see they're now draining down into a pan. Make sure you catch the coolant, that way you're not polluting the environment. And I've also disconnected my overflow bottle here, that way I can clean it out also. So at this point the radiator is ready to come out. I've unplugged the electric fan. The previous owner had deleted the electric or the mechanical fan, taken that out. So now it's a matter of taking it out and getting the ISIS from Enjuku ready to go back in. I've actually gotten the radiator out. What's left in there is the condenser for the air conditioning, the upper and lower radiator hose. All the lines are pulled all the way, and it's ready for the ISIS radiator and cooling fan assembly to go in. You can see on the ground there, this is what I took out, was the OEM radiator, and it looks like a 14-inch electric fan that the previous owner had on there. I do have the ISIS components assembled. You can see on the bottom there is the radiator there. On the top is the assembly fan. And for right now I only have one relay in the car, so I'm going to just put in one fan and connect it up. And right now I'm going to just put on some butt connectors basically to connect it up. That way it'll just turn on when I need it to. Later on I'm going to rewire the engine bay anyway and tuck some of the wires, so there's no need to go the extra mile now when I'm going to do it later anyway. As you can see, it fits very well together. Fan assembly pretty much made for the radiator itself. I was going to tape the edges, but the fan assembly does cover all of the cooling area and the fins, so there's almost no need to really do that because it's not really going to let much air by. Now it's just a matter of getting it in the car. If you will notice on the bottom, I do have everything assembled. In between the pieces I actually put in some rubber down here, just some thin rubber, that way it'll give it a little bit of damping. And then these are the pieces off the car itself that go into the radiator bracket on there. It's supposed to be a true drop-in, so I'm just going to lower it down in here. We're going to see, is this truly a drop-in or not? Get this upper radiator hose out of the way. Let's see if it slide right in here. Radiator is a direct drop-in, pops right in there, and now it's time to put on the top pieces here, connect the hoses, and reroute everything. Okay, now once you have everything put together, I actually have the car jacked up, so you can see it here. It's actually lifted up, and the inlet or the radiator cap is actually on the highest point above the engine. So now when air comes through, it's actually going to come out and go through the top of the radiator cap. I'm just allowing the engine to run and idle so it can build up some heat, and it also has the heater inside with the fan turned on. That way it cycles through all the heater core and everything else and starts driving out the air. Now another key tip you can do is this screw here. This will actually let out more air if you want to try and get more out there. Mine is actually wedged in pretty hard, and if I try to take it out I think I'm going to strip it, so I didn't take that out. So I'm now just going to let the car idle, let some of the air circulate and get out. Once that's done, okay, I've let the car run for 15 minutes now, and it's burped most of the air out of the system. I've actually got the coolant bottle up to the max line right now, so that if it burps air out once I put the cap on, it will go to the coolant overflow bottle, and it won't suck air back in. To show you kind of in there, you can see the coolant going by, but it's not really burping out anything special, any more air. So I'm going to button this back up, take it for a test ride. that's all we have for this time. That's the changing a radiator on 240sx on Project Zenki. See you next time.